a couple of the meanings that we can get from this income statement. One of the meanings we can see, or one of the interpretations we can see, is an operating ratio. And the operating ratio gives you, it's a basic ratio that shows how much gross income of your gross income is required to cover your operating expenses. And it's simply done by the gross cash operating expense total divided by the gross farm revenue. Another good, I've listed it as rate of return on capital. In your Building Sustainable Business text, it refers to this measure as rate of return on assets. But what this does is you take your net farm income, add back your interest paid as farm operating expense, because that's basically a return to lended capital from the lender, and then take away an allowance for operator labor, and then divide this by average capital investment. You can use basically your total net worth at the end of the year, or you can use an average, take the beginning and ending net worth and use that. But what this does is give you a rate of return on all capital, both borrowed and equity capital on the farm. You can kind of compare that to other uses of this capital and see how's the farm performing as far as a profitability measure. There's about 21 measures you can take off these different statements that measure profitability, solvency, liquidity. The next statement, just briefly mentioned, is a cash flow statement. This should be familiar to many of you, particularly if you happen to borrow money from a bank to finance your farm. They'll usually require some kind of cash flow budget. The cash flow budget can either be done looking forward, so budgeting, or compared with actual performance, so an actual listing of cash flows as they come in and out of the business. And this is an abbreviated one, but cash flow statement includes all cash inflows and all cash expenditures. And these include, this statement doesn't show, but would also include off-farm incomes coming into the business. And the use of this statement is to make sure you're able to meet those particular requirements as they come up for your farm business. The next slide shows this is just a different way of organizing a cash flow statement. This is primarily used on numbers that are historical, so they would look at the previous year's actual cash receipts, and it divides it up into three categories: cash from operating activities, cash from investing activities, and cash from financing activities. So it's just another way of organizing the information that provides information. This would be a good way to organize information so you can see how the cash is divided up amongst the activities of your business. And oftentimes this is used to show investors how cash is run in the business. Just a couple comments about what a healthy cash flow statement, or what a cash flow statement means. You can have a nice healthy balance sheet and high net farm income, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can meet your cash obligations. And what a cash flow statement is, shows your flow of income and expenses and gives you an opportunity to arrange your income and expenses such that you can meet your obligations as they come due. And it gives you a good way of historically comparing the performance of your cash management in your business. Important to maintain your business positive with your different lenders and your purchasers, your customers, and your suppliers. The last statement is the statement of owner equity. This is probably one of the most seldom used statement. It's basically a balancing equation, and all it does is to explain what happens in between the beginning owner equity and the ending owner equity, which shows up on your balance sheet. Owner equity can come from a lot of different sources, not only production activities, but it can also come from selling different assets. It can come from outside the farm in the form of inheritances or gifts out of the farm, distributions to children, whatever. These all can affect the change in the owner equity. So it looks something like this. Coming up here. There we go. These forms are available. I think we gave you several locations where they can be found. If not, if you have trouble finding any of these forms or you have any questions after the session or as you work on this, I'd be happy to discuss them with you or provide you blank forms for them if you don't have them in your class sources already. And I think let's go ahead with that last polling question if we could. Do I have time to do that still? I think I do.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and launch our second poll. So which of these financial statements do you think would be most useful for your farm or ranch? So is this a trick question, Ken?
Well, it does seem like that. I just realized that I don't mean it to be like that. What I really would hope you would is maybe look at that as which one you might want to put some effort in and get done this coming year.
Okay. I think this is one that is causing people to do some thinking because it's not jumping through as fast. So about 65% of our participants from tonight have voted. 80%, 90%. Okay, I believe everybody has voted, so I am going to show the results. And if we go ahead and look at this, for our balance sheet, 68% thought it was very important. Income statement, 56%. Accrual adjusted income statement, 32%. Cash flow statement, 68%. And statement of owner equity, 16%.
Okay, great.
So I'm really curious about your feedback on this, Ken. Was this kind of what you would expect to see in terms of prioritization?
Yeah, and actually I would give a little more weight to the accrual adjusted income statement, and I think if I had more time to discuss that, I may be able to convince a few more people to look at that. But other than that, I would expect that that's a good response, and I appreciate all your thinking about that particular question. I've just got, should I click that thing? Yeah.
Go ahead and close this poll now.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a couple of closing comments. No matter what you commit to, no matter which forms of financial statements you're interested in order to improve your business decisions, you do need to have good records. And it's a challenge, but there's a lot of options out there. I say keep it simple as possible. You don't need to go to a super system if you don't have the super needs required of one, but yet you need a system that's adequate for your needs. There's a number of systems out there on the market. I've put down some below there. A lot of farms are going to QuickBooks. I'm beginning to offer some classes in QuickBooks. I use FinPack. FinPack is a program that is really great for planning. So if you're at a decision in your farm or ranch that you'd like to move into another area, FinPack's a great program. At any size of farm, any enterprise you can work with to do that. But pick something that meets your needs. something that gives you financial information, but also provides you with enterprise level information. I know that's an emphasis of this course. The ability to analyze enterprises, make sure you have that in your off-the-shelf. Things like Quicken and QuickBooks take a little bit more finessing to make them work on your specific situation, but it can.